What is happening, team? Hope you are good. It's a little bit weird. I actually can't really see the camera because it's so bright and it's kind of like pointing up. But hopefully it's okay. So I can't even remember what the last thing that I filmed was. I think it was me buying some new running trainers. So I probably will include this in this vlog. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a mess over the last couple of weeks, which I'll get into in a second. So this video is basically just going to be a little bit of a life update, obviously give you some insight into training, what's happening over the next couple of weeks. I'm going back to the UK on Friday for a wedding this weekend for one of my best friends, Ben, who I went to uni with. But yeah, quite a lot has happened over the last couple of weeks. We've kind of decided what we're going to do for the next few months before we go back to Dubai, fingers crossed, in August. Signed up with a new business mentor, all this sort of stuff. But yeah, so basically the weather is absolutely unbelievable. It was raining last week, which put a little bit of a dampener on the mood, but the weather is absolutely sick. Look at it, it's so clear, literally. If anyone knows anything about me, as you can see, I love tanning. Not just because it gets me tanned, but I just love being outside in the sun. My favourite thing to do in the world, which is what I'm going to do today, is just go and train upper body in the sun. But yeah, so basically over the last couple of weeks, work's ticking over, going well, but just wasn't really seeing the growth in the business that I wanted. Not really from a financial side of things, like everything there is pretty good, but just weren't really attracting the right people into the business. And I think if you are a business owner, you'll definitely relate to the fact that if you market your business, if you have a product or service that you're trying to sell, what you were doing maybe a few years ago doesn't necessarily work now as well as it did back then. And I think I've kind of realized that over the last 6 months. When I started out as a coach and a personal trainer over 6 years ago now, literally all I needed to do to get clients was put up some valuable content of me doing training exercise in the gym, talk about my journey, talk about nutrition, and that allowed me to get clients. Whereas now, the online coaching space, obviously talking specifically about that is because that's the industry that I'm in, is very saturated, it's very different. There's a huge lack of trust in the industry. There's so many, to be honest, just bad coaches who give a bad service, don't really practice what they preach. So a lot of the people that we speak to these days on Instagram or LinkedIn or through WhatsApp with inquiries and things like that, they've already worked with usually a couple of coaches, and they might have had a good experience, they might have had a bad experience. So basically it's much harder to sign people up now. And I was kind of like just looking at the way we were going, where we were heading and things like that. And unless I was going to make a conscious change to the marketing, we were just going to keep bringing some people in that weren't really the right fit for the program. It's not to say they're bad people, but maybe they don't want to dedicate as much as what we actually need from them to get a good result as we do. And we've got amazing clients. Like obviously, with every business, with every service that you provide, you're going to bring in people that aren't a good fit and they don't end up doing the work and things like that. But the majority of the people that we work with are great and super blessed to have them. But I've got to look at, where do I want to take things over the next decade? Because I want to be coaching into my 40s, into my 50s. And I think I've kind of just positioned myself a little bit over the last couple of years as just kind of like a hybrid training coach, when yes, that is obviously the training that I do and that's the training that a lot of our clients do, but it's more about the people that we work with. I don't think I'd showcased enough in the past of the the caliber and the quality of client that we work with. Like we work with some really quite high level people, specifically in the US, entrepreneurs, business owners, directors, people in really senior positions, and those are the people that I love working with. And that's why I put out long form content like this, because I want to relate to those sorts of people and bring those sorts of people in. So that's the shift that I am making and have started to make over the last week with my content on Instagram. YouTube content is probably going to stay the same. It's just going to be lifestyle, documenting, giving people a chance to watch these longer videos and hopefully buy into me, but also some more kind of educational stuff as well, but targeted more towards those professionals that we are working with. But yeah, long story short, I was a little bit lost, there was a little bit of a lack of direction with the business and things like that. And I think that's normal. I'm friends with some amazing coaches and loads of business owners, and they struggle as well. It's totally normal. Like when you've been doing it for over half a decade, you're gonna want different things than you did at the start. Like for me, when I started the business, it was literally just to be able to afford to live. Whereas now I do relatively well for myself. So now I need to try and make the whole thing as fun and fulfilling for me as possible to keep me working at a high rate. Because if you find yourself in this position where you're making decent money and you're content, then it can be a bit of a dangerous place to be, because then you don't push to the next level. So for me now, I'm really inspired to work with these sorts of people, get them great results, and just be known as one of the best, delivering one of the best coaching programs in the space for doing that. So yeah, I signed up with a new mentor who I believe is really going to be able to help me switch the marketing. It's a lot more direct marketing, because there's that kind of saying, if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So we're going laser with that. We're putting out loads of client results, testimonials, just experimenting with different ways to market the results that we've generated for clients for over the last 6 years. So I'm excited. But today I'm just about to head to the gym to do a big upper body session. Main movements today: incline dumbbell press, weighted pull-ups, dips, chest supported row, with some isolation work. I've just had my first meal, which was eggs, sourdough and salmon, which is pretty much the same every single day. And then I'm going to go and work from a cafe after that, get some sun, because I've literally just been working non-stop from Sunday morning, because I signed up with that new mentor on Thursday. So there was loads of onboarding that I needed to do. I need to fill in loads of things. I needed to use GPTs to generate information and things like that, set up some new ads. That's all running now. And then 2 days of check-ins yesterday and today. So Wednesday is my kind of like middle of the week to not take downtime, but just get out and about a little bit more. Heading to the UK on Friday, as I said, to Scotland for a wedding. So that's going to be good. So I need to get a lot of work done before then. But yeah, I'm going to take you along with me. I'll get a few clips in the gym if I can. It's absolute carnage in there. But yeah, we're feeling good, as you can probably tell. In a good mood. I feel like I've got really clear direction of what I need to be working on over the next few months. And I don't know whether anyone can relate, but I think sometimes when you're doing okay, but you're not necessarily progressing, you can start to convince yourself that, it's okay to be here. It's okay to just be stuck. Whereas now I'm growing again, I can see the path for growth. I'm really, really motivated. And I think something as well, I'm not going to mention the name of the mentor that I'm working with, but there's some really, really high level coaches in that mentorship group making a lot of money. And I think it's really, really good to be in environments with people like that, even if it's not in person, even if it's just in a Slack channel or a WhatsApp group. Just seeing people do what you can't even fathom right now is a big motivator. It's like if you're out of shape, going to the gym and training with someone who's in really good shape. It's good to put yourself around those sorts of people. But one thing I didn't mention as well, in terms of plans for the rest of summer, Marbella for the next couple of weeks with this wedding in the middle, back to the UK for 2 weeks to see family, then Turkey for a month, and then back to Marbella for end of June and July before hopefully going back to Dubai in August. The reason that we're doing it like that is because you can only do 90 days in Spain as a British citizen, and we don't want to do the whole 90 days in one go. We'd rather come back here when it's a little bit more popping at the end of June, July. But yeah, that's the update. I'm just rambling now. I'm going to head to the gym. I'll get some clips, get a good pump. And we are in sunny Scotland. I'll show you the view from my lovely hotel room in a second, but big few days work training over the last few days. I will have inserted some clips from my session the other day, possibly one of the best training sessions that I've had in a long time for a few reasons, which I'll explain. Just numbers are going up in the gym, and I think a key take home from this short part of the video would be, don't be afraid to eat food. I know that sounds a bit strange, but I think a lot of people, when they do a fat loss phase, they strip off a lot of body fat, like I obviously recently did for that photo shoot, are then scared to increase their calories again. And what happens is you stay lean, you stay in good condition, but progression doesn't really happen in the gym. And then you're not really moving towards anything. Obviously, if your goal is to build muscle, then you need to be able to build strength in the gym. So for me, I found a perfect balance over the last couple of months after the photo shoot of really slowly increasing my calories over time, which again has allowed me to build strength. I'm fueling for performance with my runs, but I'm also staying lean as well because I've not overdone it. And that's another mistake that the other kind of side of people do make, is they increase their calories too quickly. They get sloppy with their nutrition, and then you gain body fat too quickly. And yes, you might see performance improvements in the gym, but a lot of people then start to feel unconfident. They start looking at photos of themselves when they were lean again, and then they go back into a deficit and they make no progress and they spin their wheels. But yeah, been progressing on all my lifts in the gym recently. It's obviously taken me training really close to failure to be able to do that, but that's obviously what you should be doing if you are at maintenance or in a surplus and you want to improve. I had a big half marathon run yesterday. The plan basically was to go out and do 20k easy, to basically do my long run midweek before I've got this wedding this weekend, just because I think I'll probably be able to squeeze in a 10 to 12k easy tomorrow, but I wanted to make sure that I got a good bit of mileage done before I arrived here, because I didn't really know how much time we were going to have. But yeah, I should be able to hit 10k tomorrow, which I think will have me at around 46k for the week, which is perfect. But I actually ended up doing, I guess, a bit of kind of speed work in my long run. So I did 6k easy, just below 5-minute pace per kilometer. And then I did 10k at, I think it was a 4:08 average, and then a 5k easy again, back down to around 4:45. So it probably would have been just above threshold in terms of like actually slower than threshold pace. But I was running, there was loads of hills in there basically. Terrain was pretty uneven. So I kind of call that almost like a threshold run, I guess, in a kind of longer, easy run. Well, definitely wasn't an easy run by the end. Did a half marathon. I did it in 1:33 in the end, but I'm going to incorporate those runs probably twice a week going forward, because I'm in a base building block at the moment. I'm going to jump back onto a marathon prep probably in October to do one in January 27. So yeah, probably September, October. So from April now until the start of that prep September is just drilling mileage, 50 to 55k a week every single week. I'm going to keep the volume constant. So again, I've got a really good opportunity to build strength in the gym and keep improving the physique. But just drilling 50, 55k a week, it builds amazing fitness. And the way that I'm structuring that is one weekly speed session, hard intervals between 800 meters and 2Ks at obviously a fast pace below probably 335 per kilometer. The rest of it's all easy mileage. And then again, once every 2 weeks, I'm going to put in a longer run like that with a little bit of threshold work in there. Because if you get very fast and you do lots of slow work, you kind of miss the threshold work. And again, if you look at a marathon plan and the pace that you'd need to run for a marathon, it's a little bit slower than your threshold pace. So if I don't do that over the next year and I go into a marathon prep, it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system. Now, the goal is to go sub 250 in my next marathon, which I think is doable. I need to knock off just over 7 minutes. I'm going to be doing it in the UAE, so it's going to be flat, or in the Middle East. It might be in, we might do one in Qatar, or I might just do Abu Dhabi again. We'll see. So it's going to be flat, so I've got that on my side. But again, I need to practice that race pace. So the race pace for a sub 250 is 4:01 per kilometer. So that's the pace that I'm going to be putting segments in my long runs every 2 weeks. So between 8 to 12k. And then again, when I get onto that marathon prep, that pace doesn't feel foreign. I know what it feels like, and then I can start to build it up. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I think I've gone through times in the past where I'm thinking, should I bump mileage up to 60, 70k throughout the year? But I'm not just a runner. I want to keep improving my physique. And I think, I really like running 3 times a week, and it's basically not possible to hit more than 50k a week if you're only running 3 times a week. So that's what I'm doing. When I get onto the marathon prep, I might do 4 runs a week. I might just do a bike session instead. But for now, this is working really well. In terms of what I'm doing today, I have 2 more check-ins to do. Just sat down at the desk, getting them done. And then I think there's a bodybuilding gym nearby the hotel, which I'm going to go to, get my final strength session done for the week. So if you are traveling, there's no excuse. You either need to get your sessions done before you go, or you seek out a local gym and get them done here. That'll be 3 strength done and 3 runs done, provided that I get out for a 10K tomorrow, which I definitely will. I just wanted to touch on something as well that I mentioned. Well, I mentioned at the start of this video that obviously I invested in a new business mentorship program, and it sounds really cliche, and I know people say it all the time on social media, but if you are stuck with something, whether that is your fitness, whether it's business, whatever it is, then you need to act fast. You need to invest. You need to go to someone who you believe is going to be able to get you to the next level. And that's something that I would say I'm very good at. I'm very quick at making decisions. I was feeling a little bit stuck. As I said at the start of the video, things are going really well. Like on paper, objectively, great. If I look at the last 5 years since I've had the business, things have only gone up every single year. But I didn't feel like I was progressing at the rate that I should be, given the amount of work that I was putting in. So again, I've paid someone to show me what to do. And I'd been absorbing this mentor's content for probably the last couple of months. I'd heard that other people were working with him. I'd seen the results. I booked the call on Thursday. I paid on the call on Thursday, and I paid the rest of it off 2 days later. I think a lot of people will book calls when they're not even really serious about doing it. Obviously, if you have the call and you're not impressed by it and you don't want to do it, then obviously don't invest, whether that's with a mentor or a coach. But what I'm trying to say is you need to act fast, because if I'd just done the call, gone away, thought about it for 3 months, realistically, I would have come back and signed up 3 months later. So I can now get ahead, and I've already seen improvements simply by doing that, and I've only been on the program for a month. So if it's your fitness, if it's your business, take some fucking action. What is the worst that can happen? Provided that you've got the funds to pay for it and you're not putting yourself in a bad, sticky position, then I don't think there's any downside to doing it. It's worth the risk, because the upside, like realistically, the downside is spending the money, and then the upside is infinite potential in my situation anyway. Favorite gyms, Elements, definitely one of the higher end gyms that I've been to outside of Dubai. But I don't think I've given you guys an update for the last few days. basically just been getting my head down, stuck in with work. The weather hasn't been great, so haven't got much training footage outside. Been smashing the runs. We've moved to a new Airbnb basically up in the hills over there, which is honestly one of the sickest, probably my favourite place I've ever stayed. Just the views are just ridiculous. The weather hasn't been too good since we've been there, so I wanted to wait until hopefully this afternoon when the sun is out to give you a little bit of a tour. But basically we're obviously not on top of that hill, but we're probably like a third of the way up the mountain. It literally looks like it's just golf courses around there, so I think a lot of the villas and the apartments are literally just for people going on golf trips. But honestly, it's so sick. It's a little bit cheaper as well, just because it's not as central as the last place, but just from an environment standpoint for work, so good. Like literally can't hear anything. Nice open space in the kitchen living area. We've got 2 bedrooms, nice outdoor bit. So I'll give you a bit of a tour later on, but I've just done my lower strength session today. Monday is always leg day. At the moment, as I say, I'm running a lower upper full body training split, whereas when I was doing my marathon prep and more running, I was on 3 full body. I'll definitely go back to that later on in the year when I start my next marathon prep, just because I know tomorrow I'm going to be holding a lot of fatigue from this session. Push myself really hard on the movements that I videoed. I think the 3 ones that I got clips of were barbell back squat, barbell reverse lunge, and deficit barbell RDL. So they were like the 3 main compounds. And then I did some calf work, some hip adductors, and what else was there? Some dumbbell step-ups, but I went light on those because it was the end of the session, with a little bit of core work too. So training's been flying. Definitely been a little bit more flexible on the nutrition side of things over the last couple of weeks, just with me going away to the wedding. I did film a little bit of that, but I'm not sure if I'll include it in the vlog because it wasn't very exciting. But basically just had a big one on the Saturday for Ben's wedding, which is what you've got to do. I think weddings are the one thing where you have to go hard, in my opinion. I feel like you'd have to either be sober or go hard, and we always go hard, but we only have one of them every probably 4 to 6 months, so I don't mind. But it was a little bit of a struggle getting back into routine. I'm not gonna lie, after that I was a little bit hungover, but we've had a good week since then. Last week was my highest mileage week for running since the marathon. I did 62.5k, which was great. I did that across 4 runs, so it was a speed session, a longer easy run, a 20k long run on Saturday with some race pace work in there. I actually did a 39-minute 10k, which is just below sub 250 pace, which is my next goal for the marathon. We'll get onto that in a second. And then I did 12k easy with Liv yesterday for a recovery run. Probably wouldn't have gone as long as 12k for a recovery run. I generally probably have them at like 8 to 10k, but obviously she had that program, so I did it and it actually felt fine. I think just one thing that I am monitoring and aware of at the moment is a little bit of shin discomfort. I'm not going to call it pain, but I think just I've done quite a lot of speed work over the last month in my interval sessions, and also some faster stuff for my long runs, and naturally that's just a little bit more impact. And I've worn my carbon plate running shoes for a few of those runs as well, and obviously they are harder, so it's just something I'm aware of. I'm meant to be doing intervals tomorrow, but I'm definitely not going to. I'm going to do an easy run instead, and also we are at the top of that hill, so there's literally no flat around there whatsoever. So easy run tomorrow, probably between 10 and 15k depending on how I'm feeling. But lower strength session today was absolutely class. I feel like I'm gaining really good strength in my lower body, and the plan for my next proper race is going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, Qatar Marathon, January 2027. So that would mean I will start a prep for that in September. So it would be September, October, November, December. Yeah, probably middle of September. Be back in Dubai for that. Lots of heat training to get myself ready for a hot marathon compared to obviously the European ones. But January will actually be a perfect time of year. It'll actually be a lot cooler than it will have been for the whole prep. So basically, it'll be the same as Abu Dhabi last year. I'll be progressing through the prep, getting fitter, and the temperature will actually be dropping a little bit, and the humidity will drop too. So it's kind of like a perfect scenario. Watched a lot of people do the London Marathon yesterday. A lot of them struggled in the heat. And I think it was like 20 degrees and cloudy. So it just goes to show how heat acclimated I am. Like, not sounding big-headed, but I've trained in the heat for the last 4 years constantly, really. So I think I will always take a flat, hot marathon over hills, to be honest. I think I can handle the heat pretty well, whereas I've never done a marathon on hills. But anyway, that's what we're going to be working towards. So the next 3 to 4 months really is getting the lower body as strong as possible, just because I think this is something that a lot of people miss. You know, the stronger your lower body is, the more force you generate per step, the less energy you expend. It just makes you a much more efficient runner. Now, obviously, with building strength comes fatigue. So you don't want to overdo it with the lower body training. You don't want to do unnecessary volume, because then you're not going to be able to push the speed work and really push those longer runs. But this next 4 to 5 months for me is about building up mileage. Yes, having speed work in there, but running is it's not as important as it will be on the marathon prep. And then I'll pull back on my lower body intensity in the marathon prep and reap the rewards there. So that's the plan. But Monday, as always, is check-ins. I've done a few this morning before we trained. We need to go and get some food because we've got absolutely nothing up there. So we're gonna get some steps, walk to the supermarket, head back. I think I've got 3 calls and about 8 to 10 check-ins to do. So that's the plan. And provided that the weather gets a little bit better, which it looks like it will. It was fully cloudy this morning. I'll do a little bit of a tour of the gaff. So as promised, going to show you the new pad. Much more of a fan of this one compared to where we were last at. So first of all, nice little kitchen area, kind of separate to the main room. If you shut this window and this door, we have, I guess, the smaller bedroom, 2 single beds, which is my trainer room and storage room. Bathroom, not too exciting. And then this is the main bit. So lovely open plan, kind of breakfast, workspace there. A little bit of a mess. I've just been moving some stuff around. Lovely couch, been doing some hip stretches there, that's why that's on the floor. And this is the main bit. I mean, look at that. It's unbelievable. Lovely little outdoor bit. Been doing some work outside, the standing desk. Bedroom is in there, I'll show you that in a second, but look at that view. So for anyone that knows Marbella, Malaga, Marbella is down there, about 10 kilometers away. We are in Ben Havis, which it seems like it's basically just a golfing location, really. Let's try and focus this. So tons of golf apartments, obviously a few golf courses there. Really nice. Honestly, probably, I would honestly say it's probably my favorite place I've ever stayed in any country. Like so nice, it's so relaxed up here. It's literally like 10 minutes away from anything really. Like you have to drive up a hill for like 10 to 15 minutes. There's like 2 restaurants, there's like 1 shop. So in terms of getting around, it's not ideal. We don't have a car at the moment. We're only here for 12 days. So to be honest, we'll probably only be leaving here like 5 times. We're able to get Ubers for like 15 euros down the hill to the gym and stuff like that. So it's not the end of the world. We're going to come back in July, or end of June, July, and probably try and get somewhere similar to here. But if we do that, we'll definitely get a car just to make it easier to get about. But yeah, this is the bedroom. I'll show you when we walk in. Really nice, really nice. With a nice big bathroom here. Get the light on. There we go. So that is the tour, as promised. Weather hasn't been as good as I would like. I was waiting for it to be a little bit lighter and sunny before I did the tour. As you can see, it's a little bit cloudy, but I'm just about to, well, I'm getting ready now. I'm warming up for an easy run. Shins have been hurting a little bit over the last couple of days, but I did do 62k last week. So I think it's just a reflection of me building up my volume. And I've done a few faster runs as well last week, so that's probably why. But I'm just gonna go out for like 70, 80 minutes today and just get some easy miles. I'm not gonna run to the bottom of the hill because obviously that means I have to run back up. So I'm kind of just gonna try and like run around the top, go up and down a bit, get some content. So that's the plan. And then after the run, I actually have a really exciting call with March On. So obviously Ollie Marchand's company. I reached out to them probably about a month ago. I've always been looking for a brand to partner with, specifically a supplement brand, so that we can recommend good quality supplements to our clients. So some of the supplements that we're going to be looking at is whey protein, creatine, which pretty much all of our clients take. And then more specifically for our performance focused clients, we're looking at electrolytes and also intra-run fueling with gels. So this is the first call that I've ever had with them today. Really excited. I've been going back and forward with them on email, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to set up a partnership there. So yeah, excited to try more of the supplements. I have tried them in the past at run clubs, but I've never had them sent to me. So yeah, it'll be really, really good to see. And obviously I'll be testing this in my own training as well, and then recommending them to the clients if I think they're good. The sun is back. I'll show you the view in a second. It's absolutely unreal. I'll show you quickly here. Look at that. Wow. Beautiful. Just smashed an interval workout this morning. There's actually a relatively flat stretch of about 700, wow, it looks so red on this camera, Jesus Christ, 700, 800 meters outside our apartment, well, outside the apartment complex. So I did my intervals there this morning, 3 by 2.5 kilometers at between a 3:30 and a 3:45 pace, averaged out at 3:45, but it was basically almost like a bit of a loop. So I was obviously like going around the corner, pausing a little bit. So I think if I'd done that on a track, on a completely flat surface, I definitely would have been able to hold 3:30 per kilometer, no problem, which is crazy, because that is like a, what would that be? That would be like a 35-minute 5K pace, 10K pace, which is crazy. So yeah, speed work has, well, the speed work that I've been doing recently has helped so much. I'm feeling fucking fast at the moment. Obviously it's not the shorter stuff is not my main focus at the moment. I'm more focused on the half marathon and the marathon distances, but it's nice to see that I could definitely drop probably a close to a 17:35K, and I reckon probably a sub 37 10K potentially as well. I'm not going to test it, because I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they test and try and PB too often, so they never actually gain a lot of momentum with the actual training and the base building that they're doing. And obviously the risk of injury is higher as well if you're going all out every few weeks trying to PB. So I'm just going to keep ticking over. I managed to do 62K last week. I'm probably going to hit around 54, 55 this week, which is great. And then just build things up from there. The main focus for me at the moment is just getting my body used to running 4 times a week again. I haven't done that consistently for a long time. I did it a few years ago, but not when I wasn't really taking things too seriously, and I wasn't doing as much mileage. It was like 4 shorter runs, but yeah, the body is feeling good. So just got to trust in the process and focus on staying consistent. But I want to show you what I've got for breakfast, because it looks absolutely unreal. Not too many restaurants deliver to where we are because we're quite high up, but look at this. This is, I can't even remember what the restaurant is called. I think it's called Amare or something. It was the keto breakfast, which has come with bread, which is strange. But yeah, it looks absolutely unreal. So 2 eggs, loads of avocado, some tomatoes there, and some seasoning. So gonna get stuck into that, and then I've got a full day of work to do. How do you explain it?
No, I didn't know whether I wanted that omelette or fried egg, but...
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's like a frittata.
It looks like a what?
Frittata. Saturday morning. Well, it's not even Saturday morning, it's midday. I was just saying to Liv there, I feel like I'm in lazy mode today. It's been a busy couple of weeks of work. Started with that new mentorship that I mentioned at the start of the video. Obviously a lot of work to get everything set up there. Everything's kind of flowing. It's the 2nd of May today. Just sort my hair out, got obviously bed hair. Had a good month in April. The highest revenue month that I think we've had in 2026. It's not the highest that we've ever had, but we've got to take the small wins. And I think the most important thing is that I'm definitely feeling the most aligned with the business, where we're trying to go, what we're doing, who we're working with, than I ever have. Money, revenue, profit, obviously incredibly important metrics, but I think if you don't like what you're building and where you're going, and if you can't see that clear path, then you're probably not going to grow as far in the long run. So I'm happy, but it's Saturday, as you can see. The weather is not great. It's very cloudy, it's overcast. I had a good couple of days of weather, Thursday and Friday, which is why I've got a good tan, even though this camera always makes me look really pale. But I do think it is the best camera to film with on the fly like I'm doing now. But yeah, I'm gonna go out for a run in about half an hour. I've got 20k today and I've got 12k tomorrow, which I think will put me at around 55 to 56k for the week off the back of 62 last week. So this will be the first couple of weeks in a row where I've done 4 runs a week, which is great. So I'm building back up to get my body used to doing that again. I was saying to one of my clients yesterday that he just did the London Marathon and he's got a ticket for Chicago at the end of the year. We had him doing 3 runs for London and he ran a 3:25. It was a little bit slower than what he wanted, but he was still pleased. It was a 25-minute PB, but we discussed, how can we get him to sub 3:15 for Chicago? And it's going to be cooler. It's going to be a flatter course, but we're also going to bump his volume up to potentially 4 runs a week. And I think there's a lot to be said for doing that. But when you do increase the volume there, you've just got to be careful with overall volume throughout the week with running and the strength training that you're doing to support the performance there and reduce the risk of injury. But yeah, it's just about managing injury when you increase volume. I bumped my mileage up from about 40k to around 60 over the last 2 or 3 months, but it's taken me weeks and weeks to get there. I didn't just bump it up straight away. So that's a bit of a tip for you. A little bit of a change of plan over the next couple of months. Going to the UK on Thursday for a week, then I'm going to be going to Portugal for a month to Quinta do Lago to check out the campus, which is like the most insane high performance facility in Europe. To be honest, I'm really excited to go there. The reason that we are going to Portugal is because we can only do 90 days in Spain and we will have used up 40, and we want to come back here end of June and July, so it's a little bit of a stopover in Portugal. But I've only been to Portugal once when I was like 10 years old. It was my first proper hot holiday that I went on, so I'm looking forward to going back and just grateful I get to do this, look at different locations and just select one and be like, yeah, I'm going to go there next week. So it's pretty sick. So feeling good at the moment. I'm going to get warmed up and go out on this run, and then as always, out for dinner tonight, Saturday. Going to get an Italian, but something I like to do a little bit on Saturday morning is just sit and watch some YouTube. It's like my only kind of like unstructured day of the week, and I was watching a vlogger called, I think he's called like Brian Truitt in the States, and I just really like his vibe, like outdoors, great shape, good tan, whole foods, bit of mobility. It's my sort of vibe, so it really inspired me to kind of pick up the camera today, because I think sometimes when you're in the business coaching and stuff like that, you don't have the motivation or the energy to pick up the camera and vlog all the time. But not making excuses, going to keep putting in the effort, because I was looking at my analytics of the videos and like they do pull in subscribers, which is great. So we just need to keep pushing. But I think Portugal is going to be sick for vlogs. I'm going to make a conscious effort to get a lot of content there. So I'm going to do my run and then probably going to wrap up the video there, give you a little bit of a summary, and then we're on to next week.